Thank you. So this is the meeting, and I'm not going to do the intro again. So working group 4, March 8th. So let's jump into the architecture for R2. So that was the baseline that was provided, or that we had. And so I came up with some feedback from Tal, and I'm sure there will be more today, with this architecture. So I've been trying to use Mermaid. Let's not care about the tool too much for the time being. Let's look more at the architecture itself. So let me get you through it. I don't know if I zoom like this, is it big enough?
That's better than what we had previously.
Okay, so of course, the architecture has an infrastructure piece. I might have missed some, but the idea is just to say we support various type of infrastructure. And here I was wondering whether I should call out the various infra provider, or rather call out whether we support VMs or bare metal. So that's one question I'll have. I'll just get through the whole thing and then I'll open the discussion. Then I think as part of our architecture, we have definitely a management or regional cluster. I think we call it rather a management cluster, where we have Porch. Porch has a couple of APIs. I just took the main two, packet variant, packet revision. And then Porch has its own controllers. Today, this looks like one entity, but I think under the hood, there are still all these various controllers. I took that from your slide, Wim, so that's open for discussion, but I hope that it still depicts what we have from
yeah, quick comment. I think the architecture is flexible, right? So this doesn't, you can basically rip and replace some of these things, is the idea.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. And I think this is good feedback. So we'll
I would say some of these, yeah, some of them
yeah,
are...
some of these, yeah, correct. So that's probably the better thing, but you could probably, yeah, so the idea is that it's not fixed. Some of them you probably need, right? The one that is probably the two that is probably the most, where people will make some flexibility is the scheduler and the processor, how I called it. So those two are probably, you could, by the way, one of the things that I didn't say is yeah, sorry to, but you could have more processors if you want. You could basically chain them if you want. So that's possible.
Okay, so you're talking the Porch controllers. I don't think today there is anybody in the Nextshell communities that know how to plug things in there beside you and Tal. So I'm not going to say that that's part of R2 architecture. I'm happy that we take this as part of R3 and the evolution of this. But in R2, I could be wrong. But if
in R2, you cannot, so it's not pluggable today. I agree with that. What I'm trying to say is what I was trying to depict on Wednesday was we should make it pluggable, that if people want to change it, they could.
Agreed. I'm trying to, so yeah, let's put a very clear kind of pair of goggles. This is R2 that I want to talk about. So if that's not accurate for R2, I'm happy to change
because it. R2, we don't have this, by the way. I mean, we have some, like we don't have an installer. We don't have a discovery. We don't have a scheduler. We have a pipeline, I think. We have kept pipeline. Yeah, we can update it later. I'll give you,
Well, no, this can be a working session, so that's okay. I mean, this is...
Okay,
look,
yeah. So in other words, I would, you have variants, and then you have, basically you have so the picture is a bit different. You have a pipeline on which, and then this triggers some functions that run within ports, and then it's also having controllers that run outside. So it's it's a bit.
Do we still have variant set? Package variant set?
We have variant set as well. Okay. That's correct. So we have variant set, we have variants. I did not show it on Wednesday because it was already too much, but you have variant set. You have, so the...
Well, I don't want to capture all the APIs, right? I want to capture the top 2 APIs or top 3 APIs, right?
Okay.
I want
so
to be
we
mindful.
have today, yeah. So what happens, basically, you do a variant. You basically schedule, that creates a new package revision. And then in the package revision, it runs a kept pipeline that runs a set of functions. So in the pipeline, it's not a function. Yeah. There is a function server that schedules those functions, but you also have controllers that can act upon the package revision resources. Actually, no, the schedule of package revisions. It's hard to depict, by the way. It's hard to make. So you should actually say there's a CAP pipeline, and then you have functions and controllers, basically. That's what happens.
Okay.
And then there is an approval, so that we definitely have. But given that we have a single repo per cluster today, so what happens is when you approve, it's automatically merged, and then config sync will pick it up automatically. The problem we have today, so there is an issue about it. So the problem that we have with that approach is that because we merge everything in main, you cannot delete.
Right. No, but this is beyond architecture, right?
Yeah, correct. So yeah, correct. So but today it's like that. Yeah, it's more. Yeah, it's functions and controllers. Yeah, and if you really want to be correct, we call them specialization functions and specialization controllers. Probably that makes it more clear for some people, I believe. But
Please mind the typos. Don't mind the typos, should I say? Okay, so thanks. That's exactly the kind of comments that I'd like to get. Okay, so that's Porch. Then
and you want to so in today we say it's hard-coded config sync, which I think is not, I mean, in our demos yet, but I think you can replace it.
So until someone show me how to replace it, I'll keep config sync for R2 because I think it is even part of our.
Yeah, Fiacre has done something with Argo, but yeah, something needs to be done for Argo because of the conventions that we use for config sync of the local config, etc. Other than that local config annotation stuff, I think
I'm gonna make it very simple. It's part of Nefio core.
Yeah.
So for me, it's what it is.
Yeah. Yes,
so
at this point of time, yes. You're right,
okay,
Alexis.
maybe let's keep it like that, but I think evolution-wise, we should make it flexible, I believe, right? That's why, yeah, okay.
Yeah, agreed.
So just real quick. So these aren't really ports control. These aren't controllers because you got the functions and the controls, right? You're really talking about these are the processing elements utilized in ports, right?
Oh, okay. You see, like the box title controllers here is not accurate. That's what you're saying, Tim?
Yeah, those are really processing elements, right? You're going to have a pipeline that uses functions and controllers. I'm not sure what the approval does.
Approval acts, so they all act on package revision, basically.
Okay, but what is an approval? I'm sorry.
The approval controller, basically, when all the
it's
conditions
the approval
are...
controller. Okay, thank you. That's what I needed.
Yeah, so the approval approves the package when all the conditions are set to true. That's what it does.
Yeah, I get it now.
But I think maybe to make it clear properly is maybe you should make, yeah, it's probably possible in Mermaid. So I would say that maybe we should say it's the CAP pipeline that has specialization functions and controllers, and then maybe we should draw on the right-hand side, so not within that same picture, or in that same rectangle, we should probably move the approval controller independent. Would that make sense?
Give me a second to work the Mermaid magic.
Yeah.
Like this?
Yeah, but not with processes at the top or something like that, but yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Ah, okay, so I think I got it.
So the CAP pipeline is basically a
like this?
set of functions. Yeah, so that's probably a better depiction, yeah, because they go, that's the sequence even in which it happens. And now your pull push.
Yeah, hang on. So, okay. So, okay. So assuming, so we're good with Porch now. And then what I'm saying is Porch, pull, push, pull, or, and put to and or from Git.
Yeah, this looks correct to me. yeah, this is simpler than what we had before, right? We don't have to delve into the internal implementation. This is more a functional description. Yeah, I like this.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Now, also, I think, Tal, should we not split the repos from between catalog and then so the dry and the wet here?
Yeah, there's, I think the core difference between the two kind of Git repositories, we have Git repositories that are used for blueprints, and
Correct.
then we have deployment Git repositories that are used by config sync. And
yes,
I won't.
That's what I was referring. Yeah, I'm referring to that. Yeah, so to depict them as two separate entities, because from the catalog we typically only pull, from the other one we basically do both.
So one is deployment, and what's the other one?
I would call it just blueprints, but it's not just blueprints; it's also deployment. So it's packages.
Yeah, I call it. Yeah, I called it catalog. That's why we have the our catalog package. By the way, at the moment is that the catalog repo that we have in Nefio is basically all our blueprints.
Yeah,
and they contain. Sorry.
I would actually. I think the simplest division would be we have three types. We have blueprints, which are kind of read only for the most part. They don't have to be. Porch can actually modify blueprints, but that's not part of our usual workflow. And then we have deployments, which is where specialization works. So that's Porch's workspace, right? And then we have deployment repositories, which are used by config sync. And kind of annoyingly, Porch and config sync support slightly different structures, right? So the deployment repositories have to be compatible with config sync. So yeah, we don't have to get.
The second thing is the same, right? So the specialization works in the deployment, but it's the same package that is being used by config sync. So that's the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be, but yeah, we are doing the same right now. I think they could be different, right? We can have a workspace and then finally a deployment, especially if we're thinking about Argo, right? It might, need its own. Yeah, I think functionally there are three, but you're right that the last two we're kind of joining together. And
at the moment we joined, but we made a mistake. I think we should not have done it, but at the moment they are joined.
I agree. Yeah, the mistake we made here is that it's just a little bit too dependent on config sync right now. So we might have to separate those if we want to support Argo or some other GitOps deployment solution or a non-GitOps deployment solution, right? If it's not GitOps, if we're using some other direct deployment mechanism, then it might not need that third type, right? Because it will have its own mechanism for deployment. So yeah, I think semantically there are three, but you're right that the names here are a little bit confusing. I would call the second type a work environment. I always call it like a staging area. That's where specialization works. It keeps modifying things, and once it's ready for deployment and approved, that's when it goes into the actual deployment repository. But yeah, in the implementation, we kind of join things together. And by the way, there's even there's the issue of scalability. How many Git repos you need per deployment site, right? Because every deployment repo is tied to a site. We can potentially join a lot of sites together with one deployment repo. So I think functionally it's important to recognize the three here because they scale differently.
All right. So should I capture it something like that?
Yeah, this looks correct to me. And although I don't entirely understand what you did there with the Nefio catalog, I don't know if they're separate Git repos. It's more about separate models.
Today we always do a separate Git repo for catalog because see, you also need to give permissions, right? So we typically don't give your tokens onto the catalog because you only pull. That helps in not updating it.
I simply meant to depict this catalog. I don't have to. That's what I was trying to depict in the chart.
Oh,
yeah. So that's. I also would like to do that because I would really separate the two. In my view, I would call a catalog and only put pull on it, and then you have a pull push on the deployment side, because that's what happens basically.
Okay, so I think I can do something like that. and this is going to be deployment, and like this, and then this is git deploy.
Yeah, I guess I would use just a different symbol instead of like the cylinders for those, because that's more organizational sections. You could potentially mix and match, put them in separate Git repos, put them in the same. Yeah, those are different aspects of the catalog, but how you organize them is kind of up to you. Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
So suggesting just a box kind of a symbol.
I think so.
I mean,
Like-
Mermaid is as flexible as what you can see. Oh, hang on, it hasn't loaded everything. Okay, you know, we can. That's what I have, right?
Yeah. Well, work in progress. We can continue fooling around with this.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, thank you. I think this is, but anyway, this is better. And so you're saying port only interact with deployment.
No.
No.
That's, that's not. It
Yeah.
only pulls from the catalog typically. That's how we typically use it. And it
Actually, its package variant specifically does both. Package variant has an upstream and a downstream. So it is the exact connection between the catalog and the deployment.
Deployment, correct.
Yeah.
So package variant pulls from the catalog.
Yes.
Yeah, Mermaid.
Package variant has two legs. He basically says takes a blueprint and then he varies. It makes a variant of that blueprint. That's kind of its thing. So
yeah,
you go
so
from
then
dry
package
to
variant. Yeah, I think I understood. And
wet.
package variant then push into the how did I call it?
Deployment. Yeah.
Like that.
So just one question, Wim and Tal, is catalog same as blueprint here? Or?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Just wanted to. Can you also put in the bracket blueprint there? Because we use different languages, it may be confusing in the first line.
Hang on, can I put what exactly? Sorry.
In the very first line, pull from catalog, right? And can you say in the brackets blueprint?
Yeah, the blueprint actually is a sub, like what you put here as Nefio catalog, that's all a breakdown of blueprints.
Correct.
So the blueprint.
I see. I got it. Okay. I understood.
So why don't you just call it?
Too.
Why don't you just call that the Nefio catalog, then put in parentheses blueprints.
Yeah, that's what I was suggesting. Yeah.
Mermaid doesn't like this. I can't put parentheses in the name.
Yeah, I don't think we need, that breakdown into distros, infra, Nefio workloads. I think if we just have one box calling Nefio catalog in parentheses blueprints, I think
that's what I would do. Yeah. That's what I would do. Is basically you basically have a catalog, like this is what I support, and then here you have a staging or a workspace, which is what we call deployment, and that's what gets deployed eventually once everything is done.
And I screw up something. There we go. Okay, so more like this. Nefio catalog, blueprints, work environment, and deployments.
Yes, but you also need, excuse me, fix the package variant lines. Yeah, too.
Yeah.
But that,
the package variant pool from
but
the catalog.
Today, Alexis, so work environment and deployment is together in R2.
Right. But semantically, I think they're still separate, and especially in work environments, I think they would be separate. But not necessarily. You're right. There's
no. I mean, because at the end of the day, I mean, what happens today is you create a draft, right, and then you start staging, and then once you're happy, the approval will say approve, and it will go to publish, right? So today it's really two. So there is no third.
Yeah, but that's again because we're dependent on config sync. So if there are other environments, then it might, let's say Argo might have a different. I
Okay,
think
but
No,
so-
Argo works the same. Argo works because Argo with the application set, right? You basically point to a Git directory and a branch or a tag, so they have the flexibility. I've played with Argo, by the way, today. Based on my demo, I included Argo next to config sync, so it's kind of they work similar, very similar. You basically point to if you point to Git, you point to a repo. You can say this directory entry, this branch or tag, and then they pull from there.
so.
It's the same with config sync.
It's a matter of semantics here, but okay, that's Argo and config sync. But if you're not using a GitOps deployment tool, if you're doing, say, direct connection between management cluster and workload clusters, there are other scenarios. So I think functionally they could be separate, but they don't have to be. You're right.
Yeah, I think that's the question I have too, because for somebody to look at this, I was also thinking that there were only two. And first of all, there is this work environment is a new nomenclature we are introducing. That may be confusing as well. Probably having two, do you think is a
Staging?
good idea for now? Yeah, I mean, deployment.
Call it deployment for now, because that's where the
Deployment,
terminology we have everywhere. But I think,
Yeah.
if you look to normally it's called a workspace or actually that's also terminology that Port uses. So they have a workspace, but it's today it's really, I think, what they call a deployment. So if you really depict it as a bubble, we should call it deployment, because I think it represents the full repo, not a given package.
Okay, sold. So I think this is great. I'll fix some of the UI stuff, the representation. But then, so if I move to config sync, no, hang on, package revision. Is there any interaction that I should be drawing here? Or I don't need to go
so
to that level?
basically what happens actually, so the way it really happens is, so package variant creates that repo basically so the way it works actually is package variant creates a package revision. It sets clone task, and that will create the entry of that package. So the problem that we have here with the picture, which is the hard part, is that I see the circle, right? I see it as the full repo, right? So
Yes.
package variant points to an entry in that repo.
Yeah, package variant basically is a KRM representation of anything in Git. So it's both the catalog and the deployment.
So I can blow up the repo, but I just want to ask the following question. How is this? Do we need that level of detail in what we will call the R2 architecture diagram?
I think probably not, because there's actually package revision resources. I think if we just stick to the northbound API, then it's package variant. We don't have to go into the internal, since we removed the other lower level detail. So maybe it doesn't even need to be represented in this particular graph. Yeah. Oh, wait.
Sorry. I removed the wrong one.
Yeah.
But then I think we should also not do, I would draw the arrow from pull in the other direction and remove pull. And
That's
then draw multiple
easy.
arrows to deployment. Yeah, so that would be easier. So remove pull, and then I would draw multiple arrows to the deployment, one from package variants, one from the pipeline.
So that would be package variant set, which is actually maybe also worth representing here, because it could actually do multiple. So it can have one upstream and many downstreams.
Yeah, but package variant set creates multiple package variants.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't. Yeah. So
yeah. I don't know.
So.
If that. Yeah.
So variant set goes on top of variant, but I think what is important, what I wanted to depict is the following, right? Is that config sync, and by the way, config sync config sync should be okay. We also use it in the management cluster for deploying clusters, but in reality, it is deployed on the workload cluster.
Yeah,
right?
So hang on, I'm the workload cluster.
We are not there
here.
yet. Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay.
Actually, maybe instead of push and pull, you can label those upstream and downstream, because both of them involve pushing and pulling, because you actually pull and then push. So So the
No,
catalog.
but I
would
think
be-
here we should the push and pull, right? So the arrows I would draw from the package revision itself, because he is the one that actually where all the work is happening with the CAP pipeline and stuff like that.
well, package revision resources, even more specifically.
Yeah, but I would not call this, I think, because the revision is basically reflecting it, and then the resources are okay, it's just
Yeah, it's
representing what
like a
is
sister.
inside.
Sister KRM, yeah.
So it's package revision, I think, is the one that is going to do the pull and push and stuff like that.
Okay, so sorry, Mermaid is giving me hard time. So what are the links that you'd like to have? I missed that.
So I think the
So
package variant to Nefio catalog, the line you are right now, I would call this upstream. Let's just try
so
this.
you,
Yeah.
So you would have a label upstream?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next label would be downstream. And then for config sync, when it connects to deployment, that arrow should be pull, because that is indeed read only.
Yeah.
So then I have config sync that pulls to deployment.
Right. Maybe you want the arrow the
I
other
didn't
direction, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hang on, because you know Mermaid.
You're doing an amazing job.
Might screw up. That might
No.
screw up my thing. And
You're
it
an
did.
expert.
Yeah.
I hate it.
So if you
I'll
can put the
I'll
arrow
figure it out.
in the opposite direction here, just put the caret on the other side. No, the other side of CSM, where CSM is. Put the no, sorry.
Okay.
There.
Here?
Yeah, exactly. Now it
Yeah,
kept auto. Yeah, I have some experience with Mermaid too.
It's not doing it. It's not working.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Huh.
No, it's not taking it.
Because it's too long on the left. You can only lengthen it on the right. So remove one of the dashes on the left. On the left side where CSM is. Oh, that kind of worked.
I think it did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is actually correct. It doesn't look so great, but this is the correct relationship. I think.
And you probably also want to
no, it
arrow
didn't work.
from.
Oh, so on the left side, you see you have two dashes.
Yeah.
Remove one. Yeah. Oh, it doesn't like that? Okay, I was wrong.
That's okay. I'll figure that one out later.
Okay.
I'm just gonna
You should
do it.
also put an arrow from your kept pipeline to the deployment.
Give me 1 second.
Well, the kept pipeline doesn't work directly with Git. It works with package revision.
Yeah, but okay, yeah. But they pull in the data, right? Yeah.
So the kept pipeline, no, I had that one. I just removed it for temporary. So kept pipeline should point to where, to what exactly?
So our whole point with Porch is not to work directly with Git. So the whole pipeline works with package revision, which we removed. But yeah, that is the interface, right, to everything on Git. So both the blueprints and the deployment.
I can add back package revision if we want to depict again. Is this too much detail, or is this good?
That's actually the one, by the way, that's the one. It's not package variant that creates the deployment. It's actually the package revision that does it, by the way.
Yeah, it's a higher level API, right? So yeah, but you know, the line here is downstream. If you want, you can show package revision also connecting to, well, everything in Git. You can actually just direct it to the Git subgraph. So package revision connects to the Git subgraph.
Okay.
But package revision, it's still package variant downstream to the deployment.
Oh, okay. I shouldn't remove that one.
Yeah.
It's two things that you're suggesting. Okay, I got it.
Right. And then package revision connects to the whole Git subgraph. You can just give it a line. You don't have to give it a direction because it's two ways.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a mess, but this is correct, right? So the specialization pipeline talks to that.
Just for everybody on the call, I think we're gonna spend the hour on that, if you don't mind.
You want to get this right? Yes.
If we want to get it right, I think this is key, and we're doing good progress. So I just want to make sure we have nothing. I mean, we had your topic, Wim, on the agenda, but I believe everybody saw it because I recognized the names and they were on the call Wednesday.
Yeah, sure. I don't mind. I don't care.
Okay. So then let's continue. So I think we're good with Porch.
Now, the other question is, do we need to have this amount of detail here, right?
Or is it too much? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think I'm a bit afraid that we are trying to depict too much. So I would just draw a maybe what is important, I think, is that probably the arrow of config sync should stay, right? Yeah, if you put that, then you probably have to put it all together. The question is, because
I know I can
so
remove all the arrows
here.
as well. I can also remove the arrows, right? This is an architecture diagram. Usually we don't have arrows. It's just that I thought it would be useful.
I think they're useful, yeah. But to Wim's point, you know, I think config sync should at least here be in the workload cluster only. It's true that we use it in the management cluster, but that's kind of like an implementation detail. I think that the real issue is it's used in the workload cluster.
Okay, so I remove it from the management cluster.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
where
I
the
say,
core is, right? The config sync is kind of a shortcut for the cluster creation, but if you discover the clusters automatically, you don't need it, right? So it's like it's not there at all.
I think should be part of me saying that we should, if we want to represent the current state, we should still have it there.
I think that's a different story. That's bootstrapping management clusters. That's kind of you know, we use config sync. We don't have to use like Porch to do that, right? So it's config sync used for kind of a different purpose.
But we do it. It's there, I think, now mainly for the workload cluster creation at the moment. Exactly. Because we use copy. So it's really for workload cluster creation that we use it, because we use copy at the moment. But what I'm trying to say is that, let's say, if you take OpenShift, right, or these type of tools, you don't probably have it there, right?
Right, that's exactly my point. That's our specific test environment. So, you know, if you use Google TNA, a management cluster comes ready-made for you. So you don't, you know, you don't bootstrap your own. So yeah, architecturally, config sync's role in Nefio right now is in the workload clusters. And they pull from those deployment repositories in Git. So that kind of closes the loop, right? Porch creates those deployments and then config sync deploys them.
okay, so I think we have that well depicted at this point.
So I want to send you one sequence diagram Arvind had created a long time ago. I found it. I can't believe it is just a link, and Zoom is telling me it is too long. I cannot paste it in the chat.
Can you not do a shortcut?
Yeah, that's what I need to do. Yeah.
In the meantime, Steven is saying, you know, management cluster need config sync for NF topology.
Yeah, I think let's represent it then. Actually, I'm gonna send this in Slack in network architecture. I can create a shortcut. Let's take a look at that one too. I mean, if you want to join, if you want to refer,
I can just depict it, but we don't need to draw arrow on the management config sync on the management cluster, the config sync element. Or I can remove it. I don't mind, honestly, but I want to make sure it's.
But what is I think is important is it not maybe front and center, but we use always GitOps when we deploy something or when we configure something. At the moment, we are always going via a GitOps tool,
right?
Which is config sync at the moment. Yeah, for both everything in the management cluster as well as in the thing, because we have also this recursive operation, right? Where I think, and that's what Steven is using, is he creates a package variant, and then that's so you recursively resolve some of these things sometimes. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so I'm going to assume we're good enough at this point with this. The other things I try to depicting here are more so before it was ports, then config sync, then I have a box that I called Nefio. I mean, we can argue that that's the right name, but my point is these are the APIs we really own. That's what we own. Like that's what we create. It's not a third-party tool that we integrate with. Although we can argue port is. But anyway, I put some what I thought were the top level APIs. But then I put the specializers and injectors. But now I'm thinking, this is what you're referring to in the KPT pipeline as specializing function.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's okay because the specialization function they actually call the specializers and injectors from here, right? Or it's one and only thing.
No, so the challenge which then you have to make a call somehow to these, right? Because people will say you have it here and you have it there. Can you not make these bubbles inside of these specialization controllers and functions?
Yes, I can remove them. You mean like this?
With like in these functions and specialization controllers.
Ah, okay. You
Put
above?
it there. Yeah, put it there. Yeah, because that's where they really run.
Ah, okay. So maybe I do something like this. Give me 1 second. But are you suggesting something like that?
Yes,
In a KPT
something
pipeline?
like that, yeah.
And so then I removed, or I call that special.
Yeah, you put them inside or something. I don't know how that looks like, but
Yeah,
and I
I mean,
remove this one, and I call
maybe
this
say call them functions/controllers, right? And then you can in one bubble, and then does that make sense?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Because some of them are implemented as controllers, and some of them are implemented as functions.
So like this.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay, that's
then you
good
also have NAD, VLAN, IP. Yeah. And I think
we had
the
that.
NF deployment is there as well, by the way.
Yeah, okay, we can add. Thank you.
Because today NF config and NF topology are applied to the cluster, whereas NF deployment is not applied to the management cluster at all.
Okay, so that's better.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, so then if I go back on Nefio, I have a Nefio deployed in my environment. I look at the various spots. I have a network config, a resource backend, and a token. I have no idea what they mean, but if I look at my Nefio,
there is repository. As a
nope.
repo controller.
Nope. I mean, hang on. Give me 1 second. Let me.
Wait. So there is a repository one. There is the.
So that's what I have,
but
right?
they run inside of Nefio system. So in the controller in Nefio system.
So when I
because
look
you
at
depict
that,
token.
well, because token is right there.
And they separated it. John did that, it seems. But originally it was not.
So the way
it
I depicted it, there is the resource. There is the resource.
There's a bunch of controllers. Similar to the token controller, there's a bunch of reconcilers running inside of the Nefio controller.
So
like
how
repository is one of them.
Yeah, no, I know. I had all of them depicted at some point. I think I removed them from my graph, but I want to go with what should be depicted in there. So for the controllers,
they are there, but you don't see them explicitly. I don't know why we split the token. Okay.
So should I just do it like that? Network config resource backend, and then Nefio controllers?
My point is, see, this is about packaging, right? So this is how you instantiate them. But the question is, what do you want to depict? What is
I don't know.
versus...
I don't know that.
in my view, if you point to one, you have to call them out all out, in my view, because at the end of the day, they are just reconcilers. Whether you instantiate it as a separate pod or you run them together shouldn't really matter. It's an implementation, right?
I want to depict the architecture.
Yeah. So in that case, I think you have to call out all the controllers, right? So let me take my Git repo and then I take Git,
Okay.
and we will see them all.
So then there is, yeah, but hang on, I had them. So give me 1 second.
And there's a bunch of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry. I had them somewhere in something that I worked on before. I'm just gonna copy paste them.
Because the IPAM and the VLAN specializers, they actually run into the pod, the Navio system pod, by the way. To make it more confusing. I don't know how to do it.
So then that's how it looks like. We have network config, resource backend, token, approval, bootstrap package, bootstrap secret, and repo.
Yes, correct. And then there's this
Now,
generic specializers where we put them all together because we had these concurrency issues. But they run VLAN, IPAM, and config injection. They are all. There is another controller for config injection, which is should be. Wait a minute. If you want to have them all, then config injection is one of the specialization controllers.
Sure. I'm happy to depict them. Then we discuss what we want to do with them. But right now, so that's what I have, right? Network config, resource backend, token, approval, bootstrap, secret. But yeah,
okay,
exactly.
yeah,
approval. We put the approval in Porch.
Yeah, so that you should not put there, I think.
Agreed.
Is this too much detail? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. That's and I'm sorry because Mermaid doesn't make it easy to appreciate the graph, but I'll work on that.
Repository.
So
Yeah, I
look,
think one more thing. Sorry, if you want something like a more of a sequence diagram, I pasted the second URL. This is maybe slightly dated, but this will explain the spirit of this is it's R1 time frame. Most of it remains the same. This was done by, I think, Arvind. You can probably, when we do this, probably we can also put a link to this too.
Yeah, we can actually create this in Mermaid too. It supports these diagrams pretty well.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention this also, that we have this. This is where this describes the interactions between various controllers and various sports components, various controllers, and how it's gonna interact with the workload cluster using config sync.
Yeah, and I'm happy we get there as soon as we're done with the architecture.
Yeah.
By the way, Vish has his hands up.
Sorry, Vish, go ahead.
I know this. So at least initially, I wouldn't be concerned about too much detail because it'll help many people, to refer back. I mean, I know Wim and Tal, you guys have probably been swimming in this for a long time. I mean, I've been on and off. Is there any concern having some details? Is it because of space or something? Or are you thinking it's going to be confusing?
I think it's just confusing.
I see.
It just gets to be far too big a diagram. We can possibly add another diagram, which is like a lower level, kind of like a blow up of specific subgraphs here. Maybe that could be useful.
Okay.
Now, just a suggestion, by the way, because network. So there is network config and there's network. I think Alexis, right? There's two.
Okay.
One that does the networking, the other one that configures the switches, right? So we have two of them. But what I was also saying is that the two on the right, the generic specializer and the config injection, I would put as part of the IPAM and VLAN and stuff like that. So the generic specializer, I would not call out personally. And the reason is it actually runs, it's an implementation on how we put them together. But in essence, they run the VLAN and the IPAM and the config injector are running within the generic reconciler. So config injection is a controller similar to VLAN and IPAM.
Okay.
So that we should put in the same bucket.
Yeah.
And then the
I'm
rest
mostly
is
there.
at least, wait, so let me have a look. Yeah, that's
Okay, well,
then we are okay. Yeah.
In the meantime, because there's 10 minutes, I want to show what I depicted in the workload cluster.
Mhm.
So we have the config that pulls from the deployment, and then I depicted, I think, the various network function operator that we deliver today as part of a release, right? So OAI created just so many, and 3.5GC I think have one. Is that accurate? And should I depict
Yeah, it's one,
more
but it does SMF, UPF, and AMF. Is it still one, or is it? I don't know. I think Tal and Steven probably knows better. Is it still one, or is it a separate one?
It's still one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it
But it
takes
does
care of
UPF,
SMF.
SMF. It does UPF.
Yeah,
SMF,
actually, it's
and
even
AMF.
more of a one now because it's just an operator front and a bunch of callback functions in the back. Technically, it's not even controllers anymore. So that they listen onto NF deployments and then they invoke the objects reconcilers. So it used to be a operator with a bunch of controllers. Now it's basically an operator with a bunch of callbacks.
Okay, so I think this is still accurate then. It's still because I'm trying to
Yeah, it's
depict
pretty
the
good,
various
yeah.
network function operators we have. Is there anything missing in the workload cluster that
But
should be
should you not
depicted?
call out 3.5GC that we do SMF, UPF, and AMF as a bracket in between brackets or something? If you want to, because OAI seems to be huge, right? But
Yeah, I agree.
3.5GC also has. It's not okay. They don't have the RAM, but they do have the other components, right? Now, the one thing that you are not depicting here, I think, but we are not deploying it through a controller, is all the 3.5GC that we deploy through a Helm chart, right? So there's a bunch of, what is it, AUSF, HSS, there's a gazillion of NRF, there's a gazillion of these that we deploy in the regional cluster, but not through Nefio, but as a static stuff. Do we want to depict that? Or not?
I thought that was through Nefio only. I think it wasn't. We are not doing specialization, but we are doing packages for them.
Yeah, but it's okay, but it's okay, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah,
So I think it's Helm charts. Yeah,
they're
that's true,
packages.
yeah,
They're packages.
Yeah.
And then we dump them.
So then
as
we
a
have to
single
depict
CC.
all of that as well, by the way, I think.
Yeah, I think if you want to simplify your diagram there, I would just use 3.5GC core and OA core and OA RAN.
Yes.
Okay.
It's probably better to do it, yeah.
Yeah,
Like this?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, but weren't you trying to depict the different operators? I thought
Yeah,
that's what you were trying to depict.
that's what I was trying to depict, but then I'm going to change this and I'm just going to say network functions
Yeah, I think so. I think
instead of network function operator, or
I think
supported.
I think that is an implementation detail, right? I think this is at the right level in my view, because one may choose to use a single operator like what we did with the 3.5GC, and one may choose to use different operators based on how they want to deploy.
Or should I categorize the network function, rather have one bucket core and one bucket RAN? And instead of depicting, maybe I should do this. This is probably better for Nefio. RAN that has just this guy.
There's a RAN domain and core domain. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because then we show multi-vendor and people like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that way it's probably better.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's good. I think we're getting close to the end of the hour. So I will try to pull some mermaid magic to clean this up. And
what is at the top, Alexis? The P there. Okay,
here,
yeah,
this is
okay. The infra. Okay. Yeah.
So do we want to depict the infra providers, or do we want to depict VMs and bare metal instead, or both? So I wasn't sure, right? Right now, I picked infra
See,
providers.
I would put the infra layer. Ideally, you want to put it at the bottom layer where you basically say, okay, it can run on Kine, Google Cloud, OpenShift, VMware, or not something like that.
Yeah. Don't mind the placement. This is a mermaid giving me headaches.
Yeah, but I think so it should be there, right? So we have different infra, we have different vendors, right?
So when we say VMware, just want to understand, do we mean it runs on, because we did two things. At least I know we definitely did one thing. We deployed the sandbox onto the VMware VM. Then we also did on the OpenStack VM on our one time frame. But here, do you mean that, Alexis, or do you mean that it's going to run on VMware Tanzu?
I don't want to answer the question, so I'll just remove VMware. I don't know, Bala. It's just I thought they were supported as well for R2, but I might be wrong. I mean, is there a dock? My question is, if there is a dock for it, then I want to put it there. You see, this is really because I want to put hyperlinks on these boxes so people can click and get directed to the dock.
Yeah, from that perspective, I think the R2 is only what you are showing here. But from a VM perspective, obviously they can create the sandbox on OpenStack, VMware, KVM, things like that.
And so my question was, should I depict the vendors or should I depict bare metal and VMs? Because actually I would just depict VMs.
Yeah, bare metal, we haven't done it on bare metal, but I think the idea of bare metal VMs at some point of time will be a better one. And then the providers can be like, Google Cloud OpenShift, or vendors could be the Google Cloud OpenShift and VMware.
Yeah.
At least my thinking. I could be wrong.
Okay, so I'll keep things as is, and I'll try to clean up that beautiful diagram. You see, that's mermaid. I mean, if you don't like mermaid, just look at this, how beautiful it is.
It's awesome.
My eyes,
Is it free?
based
eyes
on
are
the discussion we
burning.
had before, you could say Nokia switch, Nokia router.
Yes, you're right. We should
you want.
mention SR Linux. So maybe I'm gonna do I'll see. Maybe what I'm going to depict is in the infra, I'm going to depict maybe the cloud part of the infra and then the network part of the infra. That way, if some other vendors want to come in, they can as well put their.
That might be the trigger for other vendors to come in.
Yes.
We can also remove it. I don't mind.
No. That's a very no. That's a good point. I like it. That's the current state. So that's good. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for this working session. I hope it was insightful for some of you. It was definitely good for me. The link, unfortunately, I can put the link here, but as soon as I change something, the link changes. So, so if you can bear with me, I'll clean that up and I'll upload by Monday.
Cool. Thank you, Alexis.
Thanks for doing this, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
great stuff.
And thanks for finishing before time too.
Well, that's I strive to be on time. Okay, guys, have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Friday.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.